When were you aware of you not fitting in your own neighborhood?
Always.
Always? Even when you were a little kid?
As a little kid, I didn't go outside. I was inside. I watched a lot of movies, action figures. I used to make these. I liked the NBA. I liked Michael Jordan especially. And I didn't know about video games, so all I did was I drew every member of the National Basketball Association in high detail, put their uniforms on them and the certain gym shoes that they wore, Nikes, Reeboks, Adidas. I knew how tall they all were. I knew what college they went to. And I think I probably invented fantasy basketball because I would ball up a piece of paper like that, get a little coat hanger, put it on top of something like this, put like a backboard, you know, like a box or something, play little games and sort of estimate the stats. And of course, my favorite players would always score all the points. And, you know, when I would go to school, the only thing I could think about was stats and statistics, you know. And this is what I did as a child. I just thought about what was in my head. And whenever I meet kids in playgrounds, instead of just running around, I would say, okay, all right, this is how the movie is going to be. So I'm the director. You're going to be this person. You're going to be this person. I'm the director. I'm the star of the thing. You know, so, and the kids, sometimes they relate to that sort of thing, and other times they'd be like, what the hell you, they didn't say what the hell, you know, but I've always been like very narcissistic, and I think that I was trained to be that way because my parents, they didn't tell me anything. They said, go watch television. I go watch television. And then I go to my grandmother's house, and I would talk to my grandmother for hours at the table, and she would go to sleep, just like that, you know. I'd still be talking, asking questions. Oh, where do quails come from? Go read the dictionary, you know.
But why didn't your parents, well, limit you or tell you what to do? Well,
They didn't, because they were too busy fighting and they were very young. I wasn't abused as a child. They gave me whatever I wanted, but they didn't have the patience or the knowledge to raise a child. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, and my grandmother had a bit more patience, you know, so.
Does she still live?
Yeah, she's 65. She's a homemaker. She's got a boyfriend. Not a homemaker. She's a caretaker. She takes care of old people.
Older
Yeah,
people.
old people. Yeah.
Older people, yeah.
And then that's how she met her boyfriend.
Okay, and your mom and dad?
My mother is on disability because she has bipolar, and my dad is I think my dad's a custodian. He makes good money with the city of Chicago, and I have step-parents as well. My stepmother is my dad's wife, and she is an occupational therapist. My stepfather works at a juvenile detention center, and he used to bring home these drawings and stories of the boys that they did, and I read these stories, and they were good stories and good pictures and stuff. If it hadn't been for my step-parents, I think that I would have had a very, very bad life, you know, because my step-parents calmed my parents down, you know.
And can you tell me, so your stepmom was married to your father, and then they divorced? All right, what's
My parents never got married.
oh, okay.
And then when they separated, because they fought so much, my father went and found a woman, and then my mother went and found a man. So that's how that worked.
Okay, that's so
Yeah, yeah.
When did music enter your life? You were saying you were drawing a lot, and then MBA was, you were really into the statistics. When did music enter your life, and how?
Well, that's strange because I used to like Michael Jackson a whole lot, but he wasn't an influence on me in my music. Everybody liked Michael Jackson. I had a Michael Jackson belt and Michael Jackson socks and these things, but I couldn't appreciate the craft of music back then. So, and when I finally started to make music, I didn't think about Michael Jackson. What actually started music for me, who inspired me was Bob Dylan. And I listened to a record called Knocked Out Loaded, which is not his best record. But that's who inspired me. Music came about as a totally organic thing. When I went to Albuquerque with no money and no job, and I would do day labor jobs for $50 a day. Sometimes you can get work and sometimes you can't, you understand? And when I couldn't get work, maybe on a Friday, Saturday night, I go down to Central Street, Central Avenue. Sometimes there would be a man with a guitar, because I didn't play guitar, and sometimes there wouldn't. Sometimes I just sing a cappella. And people would give me money. And one time I met a nice little girl. She had a tattoo on her shoulder of praying hands, but she was a white girl, and it said, "Praise Jesus," like that, you know. I think it was ironic or something, I don't know. And she was very beautiful, but she was very silly as well. She invited me to her house. And that's when I realized that I like to sing. You know, nothing like a girl to make you think about that you like to sing. So when I finally got my own apartment, after a series of misadventures and failures, I got my own little hole-in-the-wall apartment, and I decided that I would learn to play guitar. So I went to the thrift store. They just happened to have a guitar. Went to go and take lessons, and then discovered that I couldn't learn because I didn't have the patience. So I got a karaoke box and 2 other radios. And then I got some other instruments, a little harp and these things, pots and pans, whatever I could find. And I taught myself how to layer. And the results were Acousmatic Sorcery. But it still ended up sounding like shit, even though it took me so long. It was so hard for me to make those songs during that time period in my life. And you tell me these are the best songs that I made. It was bullshit. But, you know, over the next 3 years, I wrote and recorded over 130 pieces of crap. And I honed it. I really learned. And I taught myself to sing and things and to write. I'd always been writing, but now I was writing songs and not just poems. So yeah, that's what happened. And then when I finally got to the studio, I was ready. You know, I knew that I'm not a trained musician, so I've got to learn how to loop. I've got to loop things. So I would do something and then tell the engineer, okay, I want you to loop that, loop this, loop that, and I know how to compose this. But it's not, at the same time, it's not Beethoven, you know.
What does it have to be?
I don't know. I guess not.
Not for you.
For me, it doesn't.
Oh.
Even though I really love classical music, it's the only music that I can really listen to other than myself. But for me, it's just like an expression, and it's how I do things. So you say I'm not a musician, you know, it's your problem, you know.